He's getting a new car.
For the record, Mr. Brown will be either joining us late or possibly not joining us at all this evening. Not exactly sure. So, personal appeals part 1. Anyone with a personal appeal, please step forward, sign in, state your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes.
Joe Sadrovitz, 130 North 4th Street. I'm in awe of the beautiful work of the flag. Thank you very much for whoever had anything to do with it. I really and truly appreciate it. Thank you.
Welcome. It does look nice there, doesn't it?
May I just say so?
I
I thank Frank for being here. He took some time out on Friday afternoon and came when we had, I think Rick was here and John Donchez, and he, with his collaboration and looking at the molding around here and making decisions about the placement, we were able to move it forward. So I thank Frank for giving up his time to come in, and once that fell into place, it moved along. So we certainly appreciate that. Thank you. Looks great. I love it.
Anyone else?
I could just say, I really want to just say thank you to our Public Works Department. I know Rick Wentz was really the master of building that. I know Alan Lewis helped out, and there were a couple other guys that helped. And also thank Pioneer Glass. It was a chore getting the glass up here. And they really did a heck of a job. I think that their craftsmanship should be recognized.
It's beautiful.
One other point, if I may.
Brown?
Mr. Brown spoke to me and said that he is going to work with the Flag Day Association to work out a dedication date. So we'll kind of throw the ball back there, but they'll work it out when we can dedicate it sometime and make a nice ceremony to bring the right people in and do what's right to dedicate it properly for up here. Don't really have a date for that. We'll leave that up to them to do that, but it should be done properly, and we look forward to it.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else with a personal appeal?
Giovanni Landi, 869 Frank Drive. I'm just here to make a request for council. I wanted to know if it would be possible to place the yearly audit online so that the residents can review the audit every year. If it would be possible to place last year's audit online, it would be greatly appreciated.
Sure. Simple enough.
Thank you.
Anyone else with a personal appeal?
John Donchez, 559 Minor Street. I also wanted to express thanks for getting the flag all set up here. I know that was quite an operation, and it looks perfect up here. It's well displayed. Also wanted to thank the borough, Public Works probably mostly, as far as the cleanup and everything that was going on from the last fiasco that happened in nature here, and it looks great that way. That was a tremendous job by anybody and everybody that was helped doing that. The neighborhoods were great too. And also like to thank, I guess, the EYA again for stepping up. From what I'd heard, I watched the last webcast, which is handy, where I guess John Iyer had said that they must have worked something out for the infield. And it's good to see that, you know, private people are coming up again to try to take care of this concern. Unfortunately, it's been a long time going, and it's nice to see that they'll do the infield, bases, foul poles, dugouts, batter box areas. I wish that would have happened in the very beginning before we went to the extravagance of what it was brought out to before. It'd be nice to see that fixed up. That's a good maintenance job to do. Hopefully other people and the public be able to help out too, and not be talking with some of them. They said that they've offered their help, but they couldn't because of, I don't know if it's contract negotiation things, that they aren't allowed to actually help because it might be infringing on Public Works. So I'd like to see if that couldn't be talked about so that more people could help out, because it would be a savings to the town to be able to have that done with the supervision. And I'm sure there's a lot of experts there. They're going to go to try to get like Zagora Concrete and whoever else, I think, to do the dugouts. I don't know what kind of permission they need to get above and beyond to do that kind of work. And if other people just in the public would be able to help out too, I think you'd get more help that way. And I hope also that the engineering that was done gets held to also as far as this infill work. If there's going to be drainage and it goes out to that stream, remember that's native trout. So you don't want anything mishap in there and wiping out native trouts. So I hope that all the engineering that was done gets followed and it gets taken care of. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else with a personal appeal? Hearing none. Moving to community minute. Any member of council have an item for community minute this evening? Special presentations? We have no presentations this evening. Reading of the minutes from the November 7th council meeting. Is there a motion to dispense with the formal reading of the minutes? Motion by Dr. Waddell, second by Mr. Barrett. Discussion? All those in favor? We have 6 ayes. Additions or corrections? Hearing none, motion to adopt is drafted. Motion by Mr. Labenberg, second. Second by Dr. Waddell. Discussion? All those in favor? We have 6 ayes. Decision on bids. Mr. Neely, we have one decision this evening.
Yes, we have the 2011-2012 number 2 heating oil, kerosene, unleaded fuel, and diesel fuel bids. You have the bid tabulation in your packet in the form of memorandum from Mr. Clapper. And the lowest, all those items were bid out separately. Dieter Brothers Fuel Company Incorporated was the low bidder on all 4 of them with a price of $3.378 per gallon for number 2 heating oil, $4.009 per gallon for kerosene, $3.0780 per gallon for unleaded, and $3.349 per gallon for diesel. And staff is recommending that those 4 bids be, or one bid for those 4 amounts be awarded to Dieter Brothers Fuel Company, Inc.
Is there a
for the period from December 1, 2011 to November 30, 2012.
Thank you. Is there a motion to that effect? Motion to award the bid? Motion by Mr. Labenberg. Is there a second? Second by Dr. Waddell. Discussion? Mr. Labenberg.
Have these numbers been revised for our upcoming budget?
They are, no, we haven't factored those into the budget, no.
Because they're all higher, that's why I ask.
No.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? You all right? No further discussion? All those in favor? We have 6 ayes. Communications. First letter in our binder this evening comes from Maria Olshan. She is resigning from the EAC, the Emmaus Arts Commission. So I will, is there a motion to accept her resignation? Motion by Dr. Waddell. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Holtsafer. Discussion? All those in favor? We have 6 ayes. Mr. Neely, if you could send her a thank you letter.
Sure.
The next letter comes from Kathy Haney. It's a sincere thank you to Mr. Jeff Clapper, Chief David Faust, and Sergeant Carl Geschwind for their help in coordinating the bench dedication for Officer Ray Seiling. They each went beyond the call of duty in making this a beautiful tribute to a wonderful man, and I thank them for their gracious assistance. Sincerely, Kathy. I have nothing on my desk this evening under communications. Mr. Neely, what do you have?
Yeah, did everybody else have stuff like a letter from Christine Massari?
Yeah, it's here.
Okay. There are a couple of things that came in today. One I'll just indicate first is a Border Commission information sheet from Michael Montero, interested in serving on the Emmaus Arts Commission.
I will forward that to the General Administration Committee as well then.
Okay. And we received a letter from St. Margaret's Nursery School, Lynn Faust chairperson, asking for a fee waiver for using the Rotary Pavilion on May 18, 2012 for their summer spring fling picnic.
I will refer that to Parks and Rec, Mr. Barrett.
And a letter from Christine Vadalund Masari requesting that the 300 block of Adrian Street have a speed limit sign posted.
I will refer that to public safety.
And one last matter is embedded within a memorandum. I attached a memorandum just because I think it's a matter of very significant importance I want to explain, and that's from Schreider's Chuck Wagon. And it was addressed to the Parks and Recreation Chairman and delivered to me. And it includes the payment from Schreider's Chuck Wagon to the borough in the amount of $2,903.07, which is not unusual. It's approximately what we earn every year through its operation. But the important part is Mr. Schreider says, after 25 years of service to the borough of Emmaus, we feel it necessary to retire at the end of the 2011 season because of personal reasons and because of the increase in expenses against income. And that will need some consideration on the part of Borough Council on how it wants to handle that in the upcoming year.
I will refer that to Parks and Rec, Mr. Barrett.
And that's it for me.
Any member of council have an item for communication? Mr. Mayor?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Borough Engineers Report, we have no engineer this evening. Solicitors Report, Mr. Prosick?
Progress.
Unfinished Business Part 1, we have nothing listed on the agenda this evening. New Business, we have nothing. Unfinished Business Part 2, we have nothing. Items not on the agenda subject to Rule 9. Does any member have an item to bring forward? Dr. Waddell?
Do we have to have a vote to?
Is there a
do that?
motion to allow Dr. Waddell to bring his item forward? Motion by Mr. Reinhardt. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Barrett. Discussion? All those in favor? We have 6 ayes.
This is probably an unusual request, but as you know, we've been looking for a Christmas tree. And after a meeting, maybe it was a GA meeting on Wednesday, came down the steps, Mr. DeShao was there, and fortunately he said he found a tree, which is good news for all of us. But it got me thinking, here we are coming into almost Thanksgiving, and we just have a tree. I wonder if we have some other options here. And one of them was, and Mr. DeShao gave us something from Riley's about buying an artificial tree at some point. But I think I've always liked the real tree. And I was wondering if we could consider the possibility of planting some trees somewhere on borough property. Don't know where. I mean, there's certainly some grounds around somewhere that could we plant 50 trees? You know, purchase 50, plant them somewhere. We have the Shade Tree Commission that knows about trimming them and keeping them looking nice. I think it would be interesting in the coming years to have our own homegrown trees that we've taken care of, or I see we have Boy Scouts out here. Maybe they get involved in some way to help keep them trimmed and keep them looking nice. I think it's a good community venture myself to do that. So I'm not sure who would do that, but I just throw that out there as a thought of in the future it would take care of a couple of issues. One, it gives us a natural tree, and number two, it's homegrown. We take care of it, and we know we're going to have one every year without John DeShao or in coming years somebody else having to scurry around in different counties looking for trees. No one should have to do that. We should be able to find a tree somewhere closer to home. So I throw that as a suggestion for what it's worth here in the future, whoever would like to perhaps consider that. I'm not sure which committee that would be, but something to think about. Thank you.
Well, let's add it to your committee, to General Administration, only because of the tie to the Shade Tree Commission.
Okay.
And we'll see what we can work out.
All right. I will put it on our agenda for the next meeting. Thank you.
Mayor's report. Mr. Mayor. Yep, you can do that.
I don't have any report, but I just want to welcome the scouts here tonight. I always scout myself. Glad to see you. Learn government. And anytime you want to meet with me and any of the guys want to talk things over, just make an appointment and come into my office. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Committee reports. Public Works. Mr. Lavenberg.
Yes, we had no meeting since the last council meeting. We will be meeting December 1st here in council chambers at 3 o'clock. Progress.
Thank you. Health, Sanitation, Conservation. Mr. Reinhardt.
Unfortunately, we had to cancel our last meeting, so we will be meeting next on December 8th, 2011 at 4 o'clock. Progress.
Thank you. Parks and Recreation. Mr. Barrett.
Our next meeting will be December 6th at 3:30. Progress.
Thank you. Public safety, there's notes in your binder this evening from our last meeting. If anybody has any questions on anything, I'll entertain those at this time. If not, I will report progress that our next meeting is December 8th at 9 a.m. General Administration, Dr. Waddell?
Thank you, Madam President. In your binders, you have the minutes under tab E, or excuse me, our notes under tab, F, I believe it is. And the only item that we have to move forward tonight is the janitorial services request for proposals, which Mr. Neely and Mr. Clapper have been working on. We reviewed it in the General Administration Committee and voted 3-0 to recommend it to Council so that we can move this forward. Now, on the third page with text, there's a timeline which involves Council approval tonight, then moving it, having it advertised again, and then decisions, bids by noon on December 21. Questions? Any thoughts? I think it's a very good proposal, and I'd like to move it forward. Mr. Holtsafer.
It's just, someone's going to give us one fee. There are different options in this RFP.
Correct. I think it's just one fee for all the buildings that are listed there.
Just one fee for everything.
One fee for everything.
It's fine.
And it's a little bit more than I believe we've had before, but it includes public works and police station and so on. So everything's listed in there, I think.
Well, it's not more than, that's
Not more
it is
than
what we're currently doing.
No,
Yeah.
correct. But it brings, I think initially the other one we had did not include the other buildings, and they've been added on as the contract went along.
Yeah.
Now this brings everything into one place, into one document, all bid with one price. Thank you. Okay, I will make a motion to approve this RFP as it's written here for Mr. Neely to put out for bids.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Barrett. Discussion? All those in favor? We have 6 ayes.
Thank you. We don't have anything else to consider tonight. Our next meeting is December 14th at 9 a.m. in Council Chambers. Progress.
Thank you. Budget and Finance, Mr. Holtsafer.
Thank you, Mrs. Gilbert. First on my agenda is letter H, the bill list. I'll read the resolution. Resolution 2011-32, resolved by Borough Council to authorize payment of the November 21, 2011 bill list as follows. Bill list, $195,523.43. Payroll number 23, $124,896.12. Payroll taxes, $38,833.88, for a total of $359,253.43. Done this 21st of November 2011. And I will make that into the form of a motion.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Reinhardt. Discussion? All those in favor? We have 6 ayes.
Okay, now next, before I go to the budget, I'm going to go to the fee schedule, which is letter J in your packet. And letter J is a revised fee schedule. Mr. Neely added a small memo there at the beginning. It's just to bring us our fees into line with our costs. It's very comprehensive. There is an old fee schedule followed by a new fee schedule. The new fee schedule shows the changes in red. Now, Mr. Reinhardt has a few additional recommendations that we can go through for you. Mr. Reinhardt, I'll go over them if you don't mind, and then if I speak incorrectly, please don't hesitate to correct me. On page 1, bank checks returned due to insufficient funds is currently listed at $20. Mr. Reinhardt would like to see that increased to $30. On page 2, number 8 at the bottom, certificate of occupancy permit. All 3 are going to change. The first one is rental units, single or multi, up to 4 units per lot. It's currently at 35. Recommendation from Mr. Reinhardt is 50. Rental units 5 or more, currently at 20. Recommendation is at 50. And re-inspection, currently $50 per unit. Mr. Reinhardt's recommendation is at 75. The next one, I believe, is on page 5. And if you turn to page 5, it's in the park rates section. It is pool rates. Let's start with non-resident season passes, close to the bottom, the non-resident numbers. No change in the first line, children 5 and under, no charge, still free. Children 6 to 17 non-residents, changing from 95 to 125. Adults 18 and over, changing from 150 to 200. Family, including children 17 and under, changing from 200 to 250. And senior citizens 62 or older, single pass, changing from $35 to $50. Those are the number recommendation changes that Mr. Reinhardt had. Now above that there is pool rates for general admission, and Mr. Reinhardt would rather see one fixed price available instead of a variety of prices for non-resident, weekend, weekday, to simplify the process, having a one fee to get in. There'd be a certain dollar amount. Children would be some dollar, adults would be some dollar, maybe senior citizens would be some amount, but then residents could come into town hall and buy a book of passes sold in some quantity of 5 or 10 passes at a time at a slightly discounted rate for a resident, but then there would be someone here who's checked their ID and made sure they were a borough resident to simplify the process at the pool. So everyone would walk up to the desk, pay the same amount to get in, unless they had, the only way to get in cheaper would be to come here and buy passes from downstairs to get in, to simplify the process and eliminate that, any problems there. Mr. Reinhardt, how did I do?
Very well.
So comments from council. We don't have a hard and fast recommendation yet on that pool rate, and we'll have to discuss that at our next budget and finance meeting. We'll have to come up with something and see what we want to do with that. The others, I personally don't see a problem with any of those. I would like Mr. Farnsworth's input on the certificate of occupancy permit before we change that. I believe there may be time for Mr. Barrett to comment on the pool rates through Parks and Rec before we do that. The first one, the bank checks, I don't have a problem with at all, so I don't know. Comments from council in general, though. Go ahead, Dr. Waddell.
Are these, I'm just curious where they came from, what Mr. Reinhardt came up with, and Mr. Neely, was research done on other communities to come up to bring them in line with other community fees, or where did the numbers come from? Or just to make it closer to paying for itself?
The red ones come from Mr. Neely.
Correct.
And the intention there was to cover our costs, correct, Mr. Neely? Correct. Just to make sure our costs were being covered in the services that we provide. The other ones, the ones that I gave you the changes, were Mr. Reinhardt, so he can speak as to what his thoughts are.
For the bank checks return, I know that the business I work for charges 25. I've seen it as high as 50, as Mr. Holtzafer stated. So just bringing it more in line with what I see other places. The certificate of occupancy permits, really looking at that as, we've hung our hat for many years on a great place to live. People want to move, come into this area, renting. I'd like to see us try to find some different ways to tap into a greater revenue source there from that rental community. Since you're not always getting a verbatim property tax from them, only an earned income tax. So it's a way of again trying to tap into that source where if people want to come to the borough of Emmaus, let's try to find a way to capitalize on what we've become known for. And then the pool rates is more or less, knowing that the pool's been a popular place over the years. Looking at some other communities, we're higher than some, we're lower than others. We seem to have a break-even approach when it comes to the salaries and the revenue generated from daily admissions and season passes. Just really trying to find a way to, look at what we have compared to other areas and where can we, potentially make a little bit more revenue without being a burden to our residents. Since, we do fund the pool through, taxes we generate. So that's the background for those areas.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Barrett.
I definitely agree that increasing those non-resident pool rates is beneficial. I think that's a very good recommendation. Mr. Neely, I did have a question. Almost all of the other fees in here are rounded off to either a 5 or a 0. The kind of one outlier there is the per child rate for summer parks program. Was there any reason that you chose specifically $23?
I think that was...
It's on page 5.
That probably is a type. Well, it's 25 on the one.
I have 23 in red.
When it was typed up, it must have just been, that really should be 25. If you'll see when the one that's included as the old one.
Well, we didn't have a fee
We
previously.
didn't. That's right. No, it really should have been 25. That was my idea.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it seemed unusual. I figured it might be a typo, but maybe there was something more
I think
than
it
I was missing.
Maybe when I wrote it, the 5 looked kind of like a 3.
Gotcha.
So Kathy put it in there. She probably put 23.
Sounds good. We'll
Yep.
take it.
Now, same page towards the top, moving permits for $1. Seems like it would have to be increased to some degree just to cover the time that it takes someone to write and record a moving permit. I would have recommended $10 for a moving permit. I didn't think it was unreasonable if you need a permit to move that it's 10.
You know, Brian, the reason behind the moving permit isn't to raise revenue, it's to make sure that we have a record of who's here. Because that moving permit then, it's in I think it's a sextupulate form that then is, people are
given to
turn
everyone,
up, give the
sure.
tax collector, send it to Berkheimer for EIT, and it really is just a nominal fee. We don't want to do anything that would discourage somebody from coming, because it really is our benefit that people come in.
Anyone else comments on the fee schedule? The only other thing I would have, I know Mr. Clapper had talked about the fee to raise a banner. And I wasn't sure where that was in here. And I may have just overlooked it, but I couldn't find the fee to raise a banner.
Yeah, he talked about $75 fee for that. We'll be charging $75, and that is something I guess I didn't put in here, but is good. I'm glad you raised it. The question is, it probably costs us more than $75, and there are banners that are going up and down all the time, such as the farmers market banner. But that really goes up and down based upon other events being held. So the question is, would we want to have a increase of $75? We've been doing is charging $75 for a banner to go up and down. Except for ones that are taken down because other banners go up. So each entity that is having banners go up and down is paying $75 per season.
And that, go ahead, Mr. Lindbergh.
Yeah, Jeff talked to me about this, and the committee, I think, but he said there's no way that this covers the cost because they have to get the truck out, the bucket truck, and till they do everything of putting it up, they have to do the same thing for bringing it down, but it also takes them from the flow of their regular day routine with their work. So it definitely should be increased to cover our costs. I mean, we can't keep giving these services out for free. So our costs should be covered. Maybe we can get a recommendation from Jeff. I think he said double it, but that's what sticks in my head is $150. So we can get a recommendation from him till next meeting.
Now, did Mr. Clapper make recommendations of increases in here? I noticed like his public works employee fee is in red now, so I was assuming his were in here, but just that one then I guess is all we're down to from Mr. Clapper.
And the red tag.
Okay, yeah, he did that already though, correct?
Yep.
It's in red ink.
And then the only other thing would be the certificate occupancy permit. I'd like feedback from Mr. Farnsworth, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure.
Mr. Neely just sending him an email or asking him and sending us an email just on his feelings on that.
We'll go over to staff meeting tomorrow morning.
Very good. Anyone else with any changes to the fee schedule? Dr. Waddell?
Well, one of the ones I'm surprised at that there wasn't a change with the pavilion rentals. Over the years, I know we have changed that. Any reason why, Craig, you just think that's at the right place now with, in the valley here?
I mean, I looked at our revenue. Our revenue, which has been relatively stagnant in terms of the pavilion rentals, and there's been some weekends where they haven't been busy. And from my perspective, I get concerned about, it's just my personal concern, is that we start raising the rates more, then we start losing rentals.
I understand.
I think we raised them, was it 2 years ago? 2 or 3 years ago, we raised the pavilion rental
Yeah, we
rates.
raised them.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Lieberman.
I guess my question is, since we're not approving anything on the fee schedule tonight, is the Budget and Finance Committee going to review all the items that are in red ink, Eric's suggestions, and then also, I guess, the item with Jeff?
And Mr.
To
Farnsworth.
bring forward to council, so we're not debating every issue that
Correct.
maybe...
Correct.
So we'll have an actual recommendation with all the final fees that your committee's recommending?
Correct.
Okay,
The
thank
next
you.
council meeting, you'll see that. And I believe that's all we need from the fee schedule this evening. And if anyone else would think of anything that should be in there or anything we missed, please either send an email to myself or Mr. Neely, and we'll get that added. All right, next on our agenda is the preliminary budget, which is letter I in your packet. Mr. Neely completed the preliminary budget. It is, at this point, a balanced budget showing no tax increase, with a $63,541 transfer from the water fund to the general fund to make up what was still lacking. There also are some recommendations from Mr. Reinhardt that hopefully you saw. Mr. Neely's memo, I believe that memo was last Friday, about a week and a half ago, November 10th, as that's dated. It equates to about an average yearly increase in water fees of $10.02 per property owner, their increase to balance this budget. Now, we did cut virtually everything that the committee felt was cuttable in here. There's a few things that Mr. Reinhardt still recommends as cutting to make up that difference instead of having that water fee increase. And there are still a few things in this budget that could be cut, but we didn't think it was the right thing to do. There are a few discretionary items. The summer concert series is still funded. The downtown officer is funded at half of what it was in previous years. The summer parks program is still funded. In my mind, that's what we were down to in really discretionary items that we could say, yes, keep them, or no, get rid of them. I'm sorry, the Main Street program is also still funded. There was a possible recommendation from Mr. Clapper of reducing compost site hours, not being open Wednesday evenings, and we could save a few $1,000s there. The committee didn't come forth with that recommendation. Now, if you look, Mr. Reinhardt still has a few recommendations of cutting the Special Entertainment Commission, furloughing a police officer, reducing compost site hours, reducing non-union employee pay increases, increasing non-union employee health insurance contributions, and eliminating the contribution to the Emmaus Main Street Partners. That was a $5,000 contribution. Other than that, we're coming forth with a balanced budget, and I will take any comments. Mr. Neely, is there anything you want to say before I open it up? You sure? Go ahead. Okay, any comments from council? Mr. Reinhardt.
Well, first to comment on my recommendations. What I would have liked to have seen was council as a whole now take a look at some of these discretionary areas that were first pointed out when we saw $170,000 deficit in the general fund. They're all come to utility functions to take a look at to see, do we want to continue to fund these areas that are outside what government as a whole must do, and that's to provide clean water, sewer, recycling, and then build back in those areas. So primarily what I was recommending was actually in the very first correspondence from Mr. Neely. I just think we as full council should take a sharper look at that. I also had recommended that all the department heads submit a very comprehensive list of expense reductions to take a look at, those that go far beyond what we even needed to balance this budget without any water fee increase or millage increase, so that we not only have it for this working period, but in years to come. When you look at where we're increasing expense items, it's in human capital. It's the worker compensation cost of insurance, it's salaries, it's benefits, and those items are not going to go away in years to come. So we're going to be revisiting this, in the future. I should say, council's going to be reviewing this again in the future. So what I wanted to do is, have us take a fuller, more comprehensive look at everything that's out there for review. As I would like to see us pass a budget without any water fee increase or millage increase, if possible. And I think there's deeper areas we can start taking a look at, and if we don't look at them now, it's in the future.
Mr. Lineberg.
In the Borough News Magazine question and answer section from July issue, there was a question asked, we have a surplus in our sewer fund and we want to transfer some funds to the general fund. Can we do so? And the answer is no, and I won't read the rest of the paragraph. But I'm just wondering if that pertains to the water fund also, and if it is a transfer to the general fund, is it just a loan that will be paid back, or is this just a one-time transfer?
According to the auditor, we can do it. I remember seeing that, and that has to do with the Sewer Rental Act, which is an act from the 1930s.
Yes, it mentions the sewer rental.
Right, and that doesn't apply to water. That question doesn't.
And that's why I asked, because I don't know. All right. My second thing is, in October, there was a list of funding requests. I'm assuming that they're all in the budget. An Environmental Advisory Council requested $500. Was that cut?
None of those are in. Let me make sure. Emmaus Senior Citizens are in at 5. Don't mind if I go over this quick too. The funding request that we went over in October, the Environmental Advisory Council, I believe, is in at 0, Mr. Neely. Right. Emmaus Senior Citizens requested $750, are in at $500. Lehigh County Senior Citizens requested $2,000. They're not in the budget. Lehigh County District Attorney, Child Abuse Investigator requested $1,500, not in the budget. Lehigh County District Attorney Emergency Response Team, no contribution. Emmaus Main Street Partners requested $5,000, in the budget at $5,000.
Thank you. Those answer my questions.
Other comments? Other questions? Dr. Waddell.
I had a question about the downtown officer. We were told, and perhaps this wasn't correct, that position came close to funding itself. And I support a full-time officer. I think we need a full-time officer downtown. I think it provides safety. It provides citizens with someone who knows how to help them in some ways. It makes our businesses more viable. But I think we need to know just what that position does cost us. Does it almost pay for itself? And I would ask Mr. Neely to talk to the chief and see last year, say 2010, what was the actual cost of the position versus the revenue that was generated from it. I just think that if possible, we should fund a full-time officer. I just think there's some benefits to all of us having the right person down there to do that. So I have.
Mr. Barrett.
Was Ray a full-time officer? He was just a 30 or 30?
Well, the full-time position is what I mean.
Okay,
But there's no benefits with it.
Correct.
It's strictly salary.
Right.
So the question is, what is the cost versus the revenue generated?
I can't answer the revenue question for you, but I can answer the cost. Chief Faust said funding someone at the same level at Ray would be $22,000 a year.
Correct.
We chose half of Ray's level for $11,000 a year, or no downtown officer at obviously 0. Now, he did not change revenue projections based on the amount of time the officer worked.
How could that be?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
I'm not sure if that's philosophical. I'm not sure if his intent is not to put a person out on the street to generate revenue.
Well, I think it would be interesting to see what 2010 real numbers looked like to give us a sense of what that position does.
I agree. You don't mind talking to Chief Faust about that, Mr. Neely?
Well, I'll talk to him.
I appreciate it.
Could that,
And it's fine. I mean,
could that please include uniform and whatever?
Sure.
Other costs besides the hourly wages?
I believe that's already in there.
Okay.
But that might be the same whether it's full-time or part-time.
The associated costs were the same, and they're included in this budget for that person already.
I think the other, if I may, the other item that just jumps off the page at all of us is the workman comp increase is, by my rough calculation, was $140,000 increase from last year. That is staggering to me to have that, and Craig's been telling us this for months, this is coming. It's amazing to me when you actually look at the numbers in each of the departments, how much that has jumped. Whenever we do the RFP for the insurance, I think we need a carrier that really is in here working with us to reduce those fees. And if I'm wrong, Craig, tell me, but my understanding is that our current carrier doesn't come on site and talk to the people and really work with them to mitigate the safety issues that we have, if we have any, or to try and diminish, to decrease the number of incidents that we have.
Actually, no, that's not true. I mean, they came in late August. We met with all the department heads, and they brought two adjusters in. They brought 4 personnel, and 1 risk manager, 2 adjusters, and the actuary. And we discussed ways to do it, one of which is to have a workplace safety committee, which we're working on. Each department has been asked to identify an individual on their staff because you want to have not just department heads, but also an individual on the staff who would be on the safety committee. And that's the first step. Plus, their recommendation was to develop a list of physicians, a physicians panel. That came out of that meeting, and in fact, we did that, and so now we have the posted physicians panel. And so they did come out. And they've offered to come out as we develop the safety committee and assist in whatever manner we could.
I guess my concern is that's great they did that, don't get me wrong, but August is after the barn door has been open. We already had a number of claims. Okay, now they show up. That's great. Where have they been the last few years? That troubles me, and just talking to department heads, yeah, department heads can take back the message, but to me, they should be working with our employees directly, and I think that should be part of the next RFP that we do. I think they have the expertise. They know how to do it. We pay them a lot of money every year for the premiums. They need to be on site helping us diminish some of these costs. $140,000 increase is just, I don't know, it's just crazy to me. Crazy. Thank you.
Mr. Labenberg.
Yeah, I would like to see the numbers for next year's budget adjusted for the fuel costs that we just bid out tonight or accepted tonight, because the heating oil cost is 68 cents more a gallon, kerosene 93 cents more a gallon, unleaded fuel 50 cents, and diesel 62 cents. So I would like to see that adjustment before we finalize the budget. Also,
So if you would, Mr. Neely, make sure all department heads are aware of that increase over last year's budgeted amount. Now, I'm assuming our department heads all budget based on the market cost of petroleum products.
Basically, look at last year's numbers in the whole. Look at the
But I think
experience.
they may want to change it based on that
Yeah.
that level of increase. Sorry, Mr. Labenberg, go ahead.
I think he wants to respond. Wes?
Yeah, what I was going to say is, I believe if you look at the 2010 actual, and then you look at the 2000...
What page are you on?
Just in general, I mean, I highlighted all of them because I had that same concern, but all of them were increased.
Okay.
So I don't know that they reflect those numbers specifically. I didn't do the math, but they all are increased. So was your concern that they just weren't increased?
Well, I'm assuming we know how many gallons we average on heating oil, and you can just take that number and multiply it by the number.
I see what you're saying. You're looking for just a more specific number instead of an estimated number.
Correct. I mean, would that be the smart thing to do?
Yeah, I mean, they change from year to year, though, is why
And that number isn't, that number is what they're bidding at the moment.
I'm just saying, we usually know how many gallons of heating oil we use, and I would assume we have an average of what we use for the vehicles and et cetera. I mean,
Sure. Yeah, it's tracked. I'm sure they know what they...
that's all. I mean, that's all. I just wanted to be accurate.
Yeah.
And then my last comment is we're transferring money from the water fund, which is subsidizing the general budget, and we're also, in my opinion, overcharging for the refuse fees because I believe our costs when we bid it out dropped $100,000, if not more than that, and we kept the same rates. We did not pass the cost savings on to the residents, but rather put that into the general fund, therefore subsidizing the general fund with refuse fees. My concern is, we had a $140,000 increase in workman's comp. We had, I don't remember the exact number, $80,000 to $100,000 increase in pension costs, something like that. Right there's a $250,000 without even increasing wages or contract obligations. And this council is down the road either going to have to make large tax increases or large cuts, and the only way you can cut is in personnel. I'm not saying it has to be done this year because you always have the hope of the economy picking up and therefore generating more revenue, but we are doing no capital improvements this year. That means, I shouldn't say no, there's a few, but all the capital improvements that we requested by our department heads, more or less, are not being done. None of them. And I'm assuming it was like $500,000 worth of capital projects, am I correct? Till you add them all up? If not more?
About 900.
900,000? These are things that the borough needs. This council, including ones that just got reelected, are going to have to make some hard choices down the road because this is not going away. It's not going away. That's one of the reasons why I fought the county officer that we funded, because we can't afford to do these things. And I know we're not going to do anything this year, hope for a turnaround in the economy, but in the future, this council is going to have to make some tough choices.
Dr. Waddell?
Just to clarify the overage that we have with the trash, that money certainly is used to pay the bills. It's not sitting in a drawer somewhere. It is revenue. So I think Mr. Reinhardt actually brought that up several months ago, that we could certainly put that over to increase our taxes to cover that and give that rebate back to the homeowners. So I'm not sure what your point is there.
All right, well, let me throw this at you. You have we reduced our refuse, I think the fee went, or our cost when we bid it out went down. It was $100,000 plus.
It was, yes.
Okay, and we kept the rates the exact same.
Correct.
So we have $100,000 coming in extra that we're charging the residents for a service that we bid out for $100,000 less. So a resident such as a senior citizen living by themselves is only putting a little bag of garbage out every night, is still paying that same fee versus a lowered fee because the contract was $100,000 less. Also, that $100,000 is going into the general fund and subsidizing the general fund versus having the tax millage pay for it. I don't think the refuse fund should be subsidizing the general fund. And I think, you agreed with me on this before.
Yeah, my point about that is it's allowing us to continue to spend freely rather than taking a hard look at what those expenses are. Between that and our insurance dividend, it's really not holding us accountable to, okay, what revenue do we have to work with? Because we're able to now move it from one item to another and make it seem everything's okay. It's a perpetuation of spending that's occurring because of those different areas. And I think we need to take a harder look at all of those expenses that we have, knowing that these areas of revenue, they may dry up. And then what happens? You know, then all of a sudden we're looking at 1 mil, 2 mils increase. We're back to almost what happened at the end of '08 going into '09 with the missed payroll, where you now have a big hole to fill and you're not quite sure where you're going to fill it from.
Mr. Lambert.
Thank you. All right, here's an example. We're increasing water rates, but then we're taking money from the water fund to subsidize the general fund. Well, why not just increase the millage? Why are we transferring from the water fund?
I would agree with you. I'd rather see us just increase the millage and let's just be straight up about it and just do that. And the same is true of the trash overage that we have. Okay, let's just raise the millage and be done with it. And I agree with that. You can do it either way. It still just pays the bills. I don't know that we're spending freely because of that money, but I don't know if I would use that term. It's still X amount of dollars we have in revenue. That's all we have to spend, and that's where it is.
I just think that people should be charged for the services that we're providing and not more.
That's fine.
It's fair to add the added cost for the administrative part of it. And you can discuss whatever that will be. But we're way beyond that with that $100,000.
I think
And that's all my point is,
No, I
is
understand.
that
I understand.
it should be in the mill. I mean, I don't think we actually have our true millage of what is, because we're subsidizing it.
Okay, just a question, if I may, and Mr. Neely, if I may, and Mr. Holtsafer, because you understand this so well. Is one way to do this better to make it more equitable that everyone pays in the borough? To do it through the water rate, to do it through, the millage is certainly just through property owners. If you do it through the water rate, I mean, everybody has water. Is that a fairer way to generate revenue? Because then, now I would take exception to saying people who are renting don't pay it. Oh, of course they pay it. They pay it through their rent. So they certainly are not absolved from paying. It's not the tax itself, but they certainly pay the water, or they may pay water or sewer or whatever. The millage rate, because it's in their rental. So I don't know if there's one better way than another to do the assessment that hits everybody in town equally, or fairly is maybe a better way to put it.
I believe it came from the fact that our water rates are low compared to most places. So to bring the water rates, they're not even in line with what other people are paying yet. So to raise the water rate seemed more justifiable to bring the cost of water more in line with what other people are paying for water instead of raising the tax. Absolutely, it could be done either way. We knew when the committee finished cutting everything we felt we could possibly cut, we were down to a $63,000 hole. So we had to close that hole. I personally felt it was better to increase the cost of water because a person is paying directly for a service they're using. It's a philosophical or a moral argument. I mean, you can choose whatever you want, and I have no problem if council says, well, let's keep water rates where they are and increase taxes. If that's what a majority of council wants to do, I don't have anything against it. I believe the committee cut to the level that we couldn't cut anything else without taking away services that the residents expect. And I believe we are taking away some services they expect. The downtown officer is a loss. I mean, the Main Street businesses want that officer bad. I think they understand where we're at, and I think they understand the dilemma that we're in and are just happy that we're not eliminating the position at this point. Because the Main Street partners could come up with a donation to us that would allow us to fund the rest of that officer. If they truly believe it's that bad, and they need him that bad, in my opinion, then they could fund the rest. I did not want to eliminate the position because I was afraid if we eliminated the position, it may be gone forever. It may be something, because once it's gone, it may never come back. So to keep half a part-time officer, I thought was better than to eliminate it. It's all about, what we're providing and what we're charging to provide it.
Thank you.
Mr. Leibenberg, you had your hand up.
Go ahead, Mr. Leibenberg, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to make a comment that you made a comment that we should bring our water rates up to neighboring municipalities that charge a higher rate. I believe that we should charge a rate that covers our costs and maintenance. Now, I know there's always projects that we can do, but our costs are being covered right now by raising the rates to subsidize the general fund. I don't think that's the purpose of it. You could just as easily say, and I believe the amount came out to $10 per household, and that Craig also put in the memorandum that you could raise the millage 2.246 mils. which is quarter mil, you could just as easily say, well, why don't we make the refuse $10 more, and you get your $10 that way. So my point is, it should be, if you're using it in the general fund, it should be in the millage and not come from the water fund. If the water fund needs more funding, because the water fund needs more funding, then we should raise the rates. Not to raise them for the general fund, though.
Well, gentlemen, we need to make a decision, so we can direct Mr. Neely to prepare the proper documents for next council meeting. Do you want to raise taxes, or do you want to raise the water rates? Dr. Waddell?
I believe that I would rather see us do with the millage and be honest about it. If that's going to fund the general fund, that's what we should raise, and not raise the water rates. That's how I feel about it.
Mr. Barrett?
05 was our last water rate increase. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Mr. Leibenberg?
I'm not against a water rate increase, but I don't want to do it for the sake of doing it so we can fund the general fund. Let's do it to fund the water system. If we need to, Craig, is there a happy medium where what was the difference? Is this increase in the water fund strictly for the water fund transfer, or is it beyond that $63,000?
Strictly for a transfer.
So if we
Not that the
didn't
water fund
increase the
source.
water at all,
Water fund
that
source.
63 would disappear and everything, it would basically bring it down to zero. The amount going into the water. Okay.
So
Dr.
another way
Waddell?
of saying that, the water fund is self-sufficient. Is that correct?
Right. At the current rates.
At the current rate? Okay.
Well, I think it also should be through millage, but I think there's a few items that we could, I think when you have to say you're going to raise the taxes, I think people's attitudes change a little bit versus a water fund increase, and I think that there's a few items that we could still reduce the funding on.
What would you suggest?
Well, R has some recommendations here. Well, quite frankly, our $63,000 could go away if we eliminated our county officer, which by the contract that we agreed to, we can remove him at any time.
Now, Mr. Leibenberg, we just hired 3 new police officers. By a 7-0 vote, you voted for all 3 of them. If you bring back the county officer, that means one of those men that we just hired and gave a job will have to take that job away from. That's completely unfair and irrational. If you would have voted to not hire one of those officers, I would listen to your argument.
I would
have
appreciate
no
it if you don't raise your
respect for it.
voice to me.
I'm so disappointed that you would say that.
Gentlemen, this is a tough decision.
I've been saying this since the get-go that we shouldn't have. This is nothing that I changed my opinion on.
You voted to hire 3 new officers. Had you wanted to bring that officer
And
back,
those were replacements.
you should have voted to hire 2 and then advocated to bring 1 back. You should not have hired a person you're already advocating to get rid of.
So you're saying that if we said we didn't want to do give an officer to the county, they would have to stay with the police force full-time?
They would come back to our police
Return to our
force.
department.
We would have to eliminate one of the people that we just hired.
Well, that's a tough choice that we would have to make, but I mean,
Now
we
you
could do that.
just voted to hire him, and now you're advocating taking that back.
That happened before we had a $63,000 deficit also.
Correct. We had a $175,000 deficit when we made that decision.
That's not true.
Yeah, it was. Mr. Reinhardt?
Jump in. I know I'm not in favor of any millage increase, nor am I in favor of increasing the water rates. We were comparing that to, I believe, at the Budget and Finance Committee, Lower Macungie Township, that were lower than their water rates, but of course they have no millage, so it's not really a fair comparison. And I know that Chief Faust has come prepared to our meetings and reduced his budget. I brought up those areas that are what I call the low-hanging fruit, easily identifiable items that potentially we could remove from those expense items. I feel there is value with that county officer. At the same time, when it comes time, push to shove, that is going to be an area. At this time, I know I would like to see Public Works, the in-house administration sharpen their pencils and try to find out an area of where do we find $62,000 currently. I know I'm not going to vote for any budget that has a millage increase or a fee increase. I would like to see the department heads come back again, especially those that haven't come as prepared as Chief Fowles, and still offer up some more areas on where can we lower things. That's my viewpoint.
I think at this point our department heads have cut their budgets as hard as they can. I don't think that there's anything left for them to cut unless you talk about cutting employees.
Of course, Mr. Clapper could have reduced hours at compost.
At the compost
There was a
site,
service that
that's-
he could have reduced for a few thousand.
For what, $5,000?
I think it was three at
Three?
one point, but I think he came as far as six if
Three.
we would have eliminated in different ways. I think he could have got us as far as six, but we would be reducing a reasonable amount of time the compost is open, and when you see what just happened with that storm, I think it would be a huge mistake.
Mr. Reinhardt?
We're talking about one department with the county officer and a potential furlough or, layoff. That's where I asked for that comprehensive list. Give us a rundown. How did this affect everything? Let's take a look. What would happen? Who would be the next person to go, and how would that affect? Is that someone that knows specialized equipment? How does it affect the overall operations of the budget coming from all the department heads, so that we can make these comprehensive decisions right now to get us down. If that's that's my point of view. Other people here may say, no, I just want to increase either the millage or the water, and in which case you're not interested in finding another way. And that's your vote. We are all appointed or elected to represent in the best way we feel. My opinion is I'd like to see us not have to do that, but that may not be shared by the other six.
I appreciate that, and that's my belief. We as a committee, I personally, I guess I could speak for, cut everything that I possibly believe that could be cut without being detrimental to the residents. And there was a $63,000 hole left. We started with 175, and we got down to 63,000. There's the summer parks program, there's a summer concert series, and there's a downtown officer that'll save another $25,000, and that's as far as it could possibly go. But that's eliminating everything that could possibly go, and I'm not recommending cutting any of those. So if someone has specific recommendations, I believe they need to go in, because the next meeting we need to have a preliminary budget to bring forth.
I just take issue with the preliminary. It's a budget. I need enough direction, so the first meeting in December,
That he can
I have a
prepare.
budget that can be voted on. It's that simple. If there are things that people want cut, I think I need direction, what to take out. And that direction has to be given tonight. Something I would point out is that this process began in late August, I believe. And there's a reason why my first memorandum to Borough Council identified what I thought was a comprehensive list of potential areas to cut. And that was so that from the get-go, we all knew we're going to be in a difficult situation. I mean, that's not a secret. I mean, we knew that all year. So that the Budget and Finance Committee and really full council at the Budget and Finance Committee meetings that we had would have the opportunity to raise those issues. And we always had that list from the beginning to remind everybody that these are the things. And I think Mr. Reinhardt brings up are ones that were listed there. And now we're sitting the Borough Council meeting where we have to make decisions, and we can look at some small things like Brent's suggesting. That's a good idea to look at the fuel costs. But when you're talking about trying to make up $62,000, we've gone through this entire process with knowledge the entire time of what the precise line items were that were available for cutting. And I mean, if you want to meet December 31st, like Council has in the past, then we can go ahead and start debating a lot of these issues again if we don't want to make decisions on them tonight. But if we want to stay on schedule and have a final budget adopted on the second meeting in December, Borough Council has to leave this meeting with having given me the guidance of what line items to cut. the precise ones.
Anyone prepared to do that? Mr. Reinhardt?
Now, I'd like to see all the department heads come back with their recommendation and from their areas then on how we can lower each department by $50,000.
No, I'm not going to take the time to do that again. We've done
We
that.
did it. We did it so many
We've
times.
done that 3 or 4 times already that we had the department heads come in.
They cut line items. I'm talking about, okay, we're now identifying that the next things to go is, individuals, unfortunately.
I think
So
they're.
I'd like
I
to
think,
see what their list would contain.
I think they're at the point that if that's necessary, you arbitrarily cut it and they'll do what they have to do. Because I think you've made that point to them enough times, and none of them are willing to go to that level because they're cutting personnel, and I don't think any of them are willing to do that. And they're not required to, and I don't think they're willing to. So if you want to do it, I think at this point you've got to arbitrarily do it. I don't know how your talk went with the police chief. I don't know how that played out, but hopefully you understand at this point that they're down to no extra money whatsoever. So if you want to do that, recommend it. Mr. Neely, put it in the budget. We'll vote on it next time. Go ahead, Mr. Reinhardt.
I have to disagree with what you just said. If council requests that of them, they should then put forth that effort to bring it forward.
Sure, if
to
council
us.
requests that. Council's
So
not requesting that. You're requesting that, Mr.
Council
Reinhardt.
members, yes. Now, I don't know if anybody else agrees with that. And if not, that states, okay, we just want to raise either water or millage. In which case, it's no, we don't need to move much further. I
Okay.
mean, it's almost like we're taking an informal,
Mr. Neely, go ahead.
Yes. Let me just jump in here. Your department heads are going to do the most that they can do with whatever you decide to do. Mr. Clapper has made it clear, he's been asked, and he says, there's no other place I can go. It comes down to cutting an employee. And if you want to lay off Brent Green, then you lay off Brent Green. He's the last guy hired. If you want to furlough a police officer, and he'll live with that. He has to. I mean, council makes the decision. And, people can disagree with it, but council makes the decision. Council can simply say, we want you, Public Works Department, to work with one less person. It's that simple. And I think Brian used the word arbitrary. I don't think it really is arbitrary. It's making a decision that you're just not going to have as many guys. You're not going to get as much work done. And there are going to be things that are let go that haven't been let go in the past. You could furlough a police officer. And you know what? The police department has to live with it. Borough Council makes that decision. I mean, is there then less service provided to the public or other officers taxed for? Well, yeah. But you know what? The borough's not going to fall apart. It all comes down to the level of service that people get. It's just that simple. There's 7 people, and the majority has to rule. And it's simply come down to that point.
Dr. Widow?
Thank you, Craig. And I think of it the same way. I think I was only able to attend one of the budget meetings, and I really appreciate what the Budget and Finance Committee did. Having several meetings and the department heads coming in, I believe that we are at a point where we have to cut services now. I'm reluctant to do that. In talking to many people over the last 6 weeks, people in this community expect us to keep the level of service that we have. I asked several people as we would talk about the budget. I said, what would be too much of a yearly increase for you? I think you'd be surprised at the number. I had several people say $50 per year would be too much. When I told them that when we were around 75,000 or so in the hole with the deficit to close, I said, what if it was $15 per year? They laughed. I said, $15 per year increase to maintain the services that I have now? They thought I was kidding them. I said, no, that's where we are. We need to close a hole of about $75,000, which would come down to about $15 per household. This community understands that we have a wonderful community. And like anything like that, it doesn't come free. I believe that we have cut as far as we can. Could we cut personnel? Absolutely, we could do that. Should we? I don't think we should. I think we need to maintain the level of services that we have. Now, Mr. Neely says in this memo, it's about $10 per year. I don't think that's an exorbitant amount, considering we had no increase last year. I don't think that's unrealistic. Now, everyone likes to have a zero increase. That's very nice to say. But to go back-to-back years, I think that's unrealistic, because we will have a big increase next year. Considering what's coming up next year, if I'm a homeowner, I'd rather have 2 smaller ones than get whacked with a big one next year. That would really, really irritate me, and I think it would other residents. So I think we have to look at the actual numbers here. $10 per year per household? I just don't think that's unreasonable. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Waddell. Anybody else want to make a comment about anything? Mr. Leidenberg?
I don't think anybody has a problem with $10 a year to keep the same services that we have now. But that's just to maintain the minimum, the function.
I agree.
That's not funding what we need to have done. We're not looking into the future saying, you know what, next year we might have to increase it another $10. What, to stay minimum again and not have any projects done? We have no money for projects, for upkeep on equipment. This is going to come down to layoffs down the road. It's going to happen. We can't keep going without doing our projects every year. Either that or a huge increase. And we're already the second highest tax millage in the Lehigh County. Coopersburg's the only one higher than us. So I don't have a problem with increasing it $10. But that's not looking into the future. Pension funds, insurance costs, workman's comp, those are all personnel issues, and we don't have the money.
Then it comes back to what level of services are we going to provide? I mean, if we're not going to maintain the level of services, then you're right, that's where we're going to be cutting. And I agree with you, Mr. Leidenberg, I agree. We should be fixing it, we should be staying up with those improvements. Absolutely. I wish we had, the $900,000 to fix the streets this coming year. That's sad that we don't, but that would be a huge millage increase to do that. And that's the only way we could do that. I mean, we're all hoping the economy is going to come around, we get more revenue, and we can fund some of those projects. But until then, I think maybe the status quo is the best we're going to be able to do. But I am reluctant to cut services to this community.
Mr. Leidenberg?
I'm fine with getting by this year if we have to increase the taxes 0.246, whatever it is. The problem is in the future. And I don't see, we have a $538,000 obligation to pay off our debt every year until the year 2021. So in my opinion, this borough is not going to have any money freed up until that point. And heaven forbid we borrow more money, because that just digs a bigger hole. So something's got to happen before 2021. That's all I'm saying.
Mr. Barrett?
Just out of curiosity, and I know we talked about it in previous times when talking about debt. I mean, that's approximately 3% or less of our budget. Is that accurate?
It's of the entire budget, yes. It's, I think, 6.4% of the general fund operating budget.
And I think we talked about what is the kind of healthy recommended
Zero?
Zero is always recommended. I understand that, but just like you have a mortgage on your house, debt is something that a zero is not always an option. I mean, we do capital projects like building a police station that they needed.
Moody's, when we had the bond issue, Moody's rating agency indicated that the optimal range is anywhere between 5 and 15%. In fact, I found the whole bond rating process to be very interesting, because it told us what the rating agencies believe shows a healthy municipality. And it doesn't, one of the things it didn't want to see is no capital improvements. Capital improvements have to be made. It is, according to them, healthy to have some level of debt. That's according to them. Certainly people can differ on that, and that's fine. But what Brent says is, in terms of having to plan for the future, is absolutely critical. the important thing to realize when you look through the budget figures over the last few years, Emmaus, thankfully, as a municipality, has not suffered fiscally because of this economy. When you look at the real estate assessments, I gave you a memorandum that analyzed what property values are, and they're essentially the same now as they have been. Our earned income tax has been stable. Our real estate transfer tax is doing okay. It really is. Local services tax has been consistent. I mean, the amount of revenue that we've been deriving from our traditional sources of revenue have been consistent. And that shows a strength in the community. I think it really does, a stability. But what we're seeing is that the level of funding from those funding sources based upon historical levels, that is, levels that predate the economic collapse, aren't enough to allow us to invest in the future. And so I'm not going to be here, obviously, but council, I believe, should start early next year with whoever the manager is going to be and start really looking at this and looking at it very closely. Because ever since I've been on council, and I got to say, I mean, I wasn't on Budget and Finance Committee, and I probably never got involved in it as deeply as I should have over the years. But you see that your opportunities for revenue and the way the budget is currently structured doesn't have a lot of opportunity. And you're stuck looking at taxes where, you know, as costs go up, which they naturally do, you're stuck with a real estate tax. And, you know, as costs go up, you're going to have to pay for them. And you can cut and cut and cut and cut. But I think we've gotten to that last point right now. When you start saying we've cut everything, now we're just at personnel. Now you are looking at cutting services. And then it comes down to the philosophical question, as Dr. Waddell raises, and that is, okay, are we going to cut services? And if the answer is no, we're not going to do that, well, then you're going to have to invest in how you're going to provide those services in the future. And what you're looking at right now, based upon historical revenue performance, even predating 2008, it's going to be simply tapping into real estate tax or tapping into your water and sewer fees to try and fund it. I mean, it's about it. I mean, when you look around, it's kind of unfortunate. I mean, you have a lot of municipalities in the valley that have the business privilege tax that was enacted before November of 1988, and that's the gross receipts tax. I mean, when you talk about what's the philosophy of fair funding, I mean, how fair is it that you have businesses paying this extra tax in those municipalities, such as the city of Allentown? It just goes thrown into the general fund, and people, they just pay it. Is it philosophically right that the businesses pay for that? I don't know. You ask 10 different people, you get 10 different answers. You have municipalities like, say, South Whitehall Township that derives a lot of revenue from Dorney Park. I mean, is that really fair that all the people who go to Dorney Park go to support South Whitehall Township? I don't know. But there are other sources of revenue when you look at different municipalities, which, in a way, is the reason why their tax rates are so much lower. When we look at real estate tax rates for municipalities, you also have to look what's their available revenue streams. We cannot enact a gross receipts tax. So therefore, that's not available. We don't have an amusement park, and we don't want one. It's a complicated issue, but without a doubt, Brent's right. Next year, early on, I think council has to really sit down and say, you know what, we're not going to wait to budget season. We're going to start looking at this now and trying to figure out what we are going to do if we're going to provide the same level of services. So, he's right. But I still need direction on what to do for the next meeting.
So how do you want to proceed,
the problem
gentlemen?
in front of me is, are we going to cut more things, or what are we going to do?
You have your options. Mr. Leibenberg.
I make a motion that Craig prepare a budget with the .246 mils increase, and then we can debate cuts that night, just like we always do. That's my motion.
Is there a second?
If that's the proper amount. I don't know if you have to adjust that.
Well, yeah, that's the number that it was, but I guess your motion would be that the gap that we have in the budget, we would fund via a
millage increase.
Increase in the millage to account for that.
If the increases they did already didn't cover it, and maybe they covered it.
Is there a second to that motion? Second by Dr. Waddell. Discussion. All those in favor? We have 5 ayes. Those opposed? We have 3 opposed. Mr. Reinhardt, Mr. Holzhafer, and Mr. Barrett are opposed.
You get 5 ayes.
I think she meant 3.
3, I'm sorry. We have a tie, Mr. Mayor.
Water or real estate?
What do you prefer?
I prefer the water. Our water's cheap.
All right. Mr. Neely, do you have your direction? Prepare a budget with an increase in the water to cover the current deficit that we have?
All right.
Mr. Leidenberg?
Might I suggest doing the other one, the alternate, because Nate's not here.
That's true.
That's a good idea.
I'll bring in 2. First time this year I'm bringing in 2.
It is?
That's a smart idea.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
We can
But I think it's good that people got their feelings out on the table.
make that final decision.
That was important. All right.
All right, well, that
Is that everything you
completes
had?
my committee report for this evening. Progress.
Thank you, Mr. Holzhafer. Community Relations, Planning and Development, Mr. Brown. Does anyone have a report for Mr. Brown this evening? Dr. Widow?
He called me this evening to say he just reports progress. There will be no meeting in November because it falls on Thanksgiving. The next meeting will be, it looks like December 22nd at 4:15.
Thank you. Ad hoc committee, Mr. Holzhafer?
I'll make a call tomorrow to schedule a meeting.
Okay.
Progress.
And we're still going to be discussing the junior council member?
on
And
the
there's
agenda.
also another issue coming forward from public safety, and that's emergency response,
Okay,
whether or not we can use the high school as a shelter area.
very good. There was it's a shelter for Limerick Nuclear Power Plant, and there was an emergency drill at the high school last week that I stopped by. So they are prepared in some degree to open.
Some degree.
Like that, so we will make sure we know those things. Yeah,
If we could just
power
review that. Mr. Barrett?
I'm going to bring this up. We very rarely have a report, and maybe it should fall under Borough Manager because he was also there, but the COG, County of Governors, met last Tuesday, and the reason why I brought it up now is based strictly on what you brought up about emergency preparedness and how all the different municipalities were faced the exact same issue that we had, having shelters but limited power. Also talking further about the county's level of preparedness or lack thereof in some sense. They're looking to improve that. They're planning on holding a mini COG meeting. But I think as we bring forward more information, I think those things should all tie in directly with the public safety, but also if the school's going to be involved. I mean, it involves so many municipalities and different government agencies that it's really a group effort. So if there is more information that comes out, I'll make sure that that's available for the Community School Relationship Committee.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Leibenberg, did you have your hand up?
No, I think I'm going to wait to Borough Manager's report.
Okay. Personal Appeals Part 2. Anyone with a personal appeal, please step forward, sign in, state your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes.
I think this is still the same typo from before, but I just wanted to clarify under budget.
State your name and address, please.
I'm sorry, Lynn Donches,
Thank you.
559 Minor Street. Under the Budget and Finance, the next meeting, is it at 6:45 or the 3:30?
December 5th. That'd be 6:45.
6:45.
Okay. I know sometimes they're earlier. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else with a personal appeal?
Giovanni Landi, 869 Frank Drive. I just want to start out by thanking Councilman Leibenberg for some of the issues he brought up, because I think that there were some good issues to discuss. I think when the public watches this meeting, they're going to see that there was some really good discussion about property taxes versus water rates, and that there are a lot of decisions that are going to need to be made going forward. I'm a little saddened, I guess, that a suggestion made by Councilman Reinhardt wasn't followed up upon early in the budget process, which would have been to really categorize the budget with mandated items versus discretionary items. It probably would have made your discussion now a little bit easier, being able to see items on the budget that are more discretionary than they are mandated. While I think none of us want to see services cut, it is a little sad to see that we would prefer to keep $5,000 in the budget for the Main Street program than reduce the taxes right now when we know the economy is what it is for homeowners. I know Dr. Waddell stated that he talked to some residents that think $10 isn't a lot, but if it's $10 here and $20 there, school taxes go up, county taxes go up. People on a fixed income, $10 means something. And technically it's not $10 because you're looking at an extra $170,000 from the trash, an extra $125,000 from a disbursement from an insurance policy. So you're looking at $300,000 of extra revenue that we received that really saved this budget period. So some tough decisions are going to need to be made. I think it's unfortunate that, we raised water rates, because if our water rates are low and it covers the bills, then our water rates are low. If you were doing your home finances, you wouldn't raise the food allotment in your budget to cover HBO on your cable. You'd never be able to keep track of your personal expenses if you were not properly accounting for where the money is coming from and where the money is going. So that's why I think there's a lot of merit to the suggestion Councilman Reinhardt made about really taking the budget apart and putting it back together. I think at that point, if you go to the residents with a tax increase and you can show them really where your line items are and what services are out there, you would maybe have less resistance if you had to have a property tax increase. Councilman Lavenberg said we're the second highest millage, but is that taken into account the money we're taking from trash, money we're going to take from water? If you factored that in, where do we fall millage-wise? It's really deceptive, and I know some residents have actually told me that keeping the trash money and increasing water rates is a very deceptive way to increase taxes. So I just wanted to point out those comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else with a personal appeal?
If I could just make one comment.
Mr. Neely?
I think, Mr. Lenny, it's nothing that you have to respond to. It's going to be an observation. I don't think you're not going to take issue with it either.
I'm sorry?
I don't think you're going to take any issue with this. It's just going to be an observation. Okay. One thing that we've never really done, but I do think it would be very interesting, but the time, I don't know if it's feasible to do it, is to look at the cost of living in a community. Give you an example. Jeff Clapper lives in Whitehall Township. He pays $4.50 per 1,000 gallons for water. We charge $1.92, I think, for 1,000 gallons, much less than half. But then what other costs does he pay? They talk here, he add it up. What's it cost to get your garbage out? What does it cost to get your water and sewer? What does it cost for your taxes? And see what it does cost. And my gut feeling is when you hear what people are paying for other kinds of things, overall, I doubt that you're going to find that Emmaus is an expensive place to live when you factor everything together. And it's just observation, Jim.
Right, I was going to just comment. I think you're right. I think those kind of things should be evaluated so you can do true apples-to-apples comparisons. So, and one other comment was, it's also a little disappointing to see that there's not any money in there for capital projects going forward, because we know we're going to have major incidents coming up. There's no way to avoid it. The sewers needs to be redone. We have residents with sewage backflowing into their homes. The water system is going to need to be redone. If water rates were raised, I would rather see it going into some kind of fund that would be there for when you need to fix water systems instead of borrowing money all the time. So I just would be concerned, with no capital projects, that we don't end up in a situation where we have crumbling infrastructure. So.
Thank you.
John Donches, 559 Minor. I'm interested to find out if we're in the red, how we can have a $51,000 contingency fund. I would think that could be used to offset that, or maybe should be or something. And these, again, charging the water rates to using the taxes, I'm not sure even how that works, but we have crumbling infrastructure. I've been hearing at the Budget and Finance Committee meetings when I'm here, right, the overpass going by the old CVS is in terrible shape. A potential of catastrophic ends. Hundreds of thousands of dollars maybe for that. A well water up on top of 2nd Street, I guess, a well there that you know is bad, that needs to be dealt with. Who knows?
Time out. I'll add this to your time, but you know what? Don't say that the well is bad. It's not.
The well's not bad, but it's having trouble. You're saying it's having trouble. We got to deal with it.
No, there's a reservoir that functions fine that we would like to abandon, but we can't abandon it because there are 2 customers up there that are LCA customers outside of our jurisdiction. You were here at the meeting.
You need to deal with it.
Happy to have this amount of time back, but John, you don't stand there at the podium and essentially tell the public that there's a problem with our water supply. That's a very bad thing to say. And to misrepresent it that way is really unfortunate. I appreciate if you wouldn't do that again. And
Is it going to cost us something to deal with it in the future?
Correct, to deal with an issue.
Okay.
The overpass.
We're going to need to deal with an issue.
The overpass at CVS,
Yes.
It's not an overpass, John. You don't even know what you're saying.
It's the bridge, whatever you want to call it.
Just let us speak.
Tell us what it is, please. This is the thing. If I'm giving bad information, please tell us what it is. These are issues that were mentioned here. What is
It's
it?
a drainage pipe that's 48 inches in diameter that goes underneath a roadway.
Okay.
That's supported by a concrete structure, the concrete structure of which is structurally sound. And it's the corrugated metal pipe that's on the inside of it that is wearing, and it needs to be either fixed or replaced.
Okay.
There is no catastrophe looming. There is no danger of somebody driving over the road and it collapsing. When you stand there and make these statements that are completely wrong when you've been at the meetings and you've heard them,
That's
frankly,
what I
John,
heard.
it bothers me because all it does is it tries to inflame people that there's all these problems like this, and you could.
Do you deny that
be careful.
that it needs dealt with?
Do I deny?
And it's
that
going
it needs
to
be dealt with?
cost future funds.
Do you know if a contingency
Are you counting that in? This is all capital
John,
improvements.
your first thing here we're going to ask you is you talk about a contingency account. Do you believe that's an actual bank account?
It's in the funds. You have $51,000
Do you believe
in a
the
line
contingency
item.
account is a bank account?
It's dollars that the borough has.
Do you believe the contingency account is a bank account?
I'm not going to make that statement.
Because
That's
you
for
don't
you
know.
to tell us.
You don't know, and you
Tell
stand there
us.
and talk about things you don't know.
Tell us.
Mr. Barrett, go ahead.
Can we just let him talk and be done? No one's listening anyhow. I mean, just go. You're accurate. Your statements are constantly inaccurate. Just let him talk. We'd spend 3 days trying to correct him.
This is a perfect example. I'm ignorant. I'll admit this. Now, tell us if it's a bank account or if it isn't. The public would like to know.
It's not, and then don't stand there and pretend like you know, because you don't.
I'm saying I don't know. I'm asking for the
No need for
answer.
response anymore. Just let him finish.
Enough,
5 minutes.
enough,
Just go.
enough.
Just let him finish.
There are capital improvements that need to be made in the future. You're not planning for any. There was hundreds of thousands of dollars last year. There's none this year. And there's a potential. We have a red zone budget now, and we're not planning for anything in the future. This is my claim, and I think you should. And that's it then. Thank you so much for your input and letting everybody know.
Anyone else with a personal appeal? Hearing none, Mr. Neely, Borough Manager's report.
Yes, significant revenue expense items in your packet. I entertain any questions about it.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Neely on the item in the binder? Mr. Lavenberg?
Well, since we're under a manager's report, we had a memorandum from Jeff Clapper with regard to Mulberry Street, the sewer line repair,
Right.
$3,000 cost, and he was asking some guidance on whether he should repair it this year under this year's budget and where he should take it from,
Yeah.
or budget it for next year, and I just was wondering if there was an answer to that.
Yep. We looked at the I&I elimination line item, which is $65,000 budget for this year. We awarded the contracts for the two contracts, if you recall, a couple meetings ago, one for videoing and repairing lines, another one to repair a line down off Pennsylvania Avenue. The aggregate there was around $53,000. We've had engineering costs associated with the I&I project, and then also the stuff for down on Pine in Mulberry area. But there would be around $3,000 left in the I&I elimination line item, the $65,000 that's budgeted. So we could do that this year. And my suggestion to Jeff was to start that right away and get that work done, because it is in the budget.
Yes. Okay, thank you. And my other question was, is the water refund budgeted for next year?
That is, in terms of the revenue, it's a limitation on revenue. 20,000 less in revenue because it's going to be a credit.
So it was taken out of the budget. Thank you.
Yeah. The only other item I have is I submitted my letter of resignation where I indicated that my last day would be December 6th. Ms. Gilbert and I spoke, and I would stay. I could stay on until the 20th. But I would ask that a motion be made to accept my resignation as of one of those 2 dates.
Mr. Neely was gracious enough to indicate that he would be willing to stay to December 20th to get us through the budget process as well as the 2 meetings of December. Mr. Holzhafer?
And I'll make a motion to accept Mr. Neely's resignation as of December 20th, 2011.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Labenberg. Discussion? All those in favor? We have 6 ayes.
In progress.
Can I ask a question, if
Mr.
I may, Craig,
Rainbow?
before you finish? if I may?
Dr. Waddell?
Craig, I know that within the last few weeks you met with Gary Pulsini to talk about refinancing the bond.
Yeah.
I just think that would be of interest to everyone to hear what his recommendation was, because you would think in this climate with interest rates where they are that would be a natural thing to do, and to let the public know that it certainly has been discussed. If you would, please.
Yeah, I met with Gary Pulsini on October 26th, and we talked about possible refinancing. And he indicated that there could be a slightly favorable bond rate. It's not guaranteed, because when you start the process again, it's going to take time to go through, and you don't know what the bond rates are going to do in the next few months. But he said even if there was some positive movement in the bond rates, the fees for going to a bond issue are just so high. And I don't know if you recall the last time in the bond schedules that we have, your fees in terms of letter of credit costs and other costs that go along with it are in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And he said that it just simply would not make financial sense at this point, this early on in the game, to incur those costs again.
Okay, thank you.
Your report progress, Mr. Neely?
Progress.
On the President's business this evening, I have nothing. So if there is a motion to adjourn. Motion by Dr. Waddell, second by Mr. Barrett. Discussion? All those in favor? I got 6 ayes. We are adjourned at 8:40. I'm not sitting up here.
Yes, John. All right. Very good. Thank you.
I will do that. I will do that. Thank you. I will do that.
Yeah, if you look
too.
at their division. Yeah. They set it up for him. So just hit the record button. Yeah, go ahead.
Good night.
Instead of pine trees.
I think I need a beer. What time does our Meadows close?
Oh, that's fine. $10 annually.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Going to be thrown off. I didn't write it down.
And Reinhardt. Yes.
I got 2 on each side.
Yeah, and then the mayor broke the tie.
That I caught.
Yep.